Hey everyone, I'm Jessica, and I talk about solo games a lot, also solo RPGs. I do a lot in terms of rating games and writing about them and commenting, and at one point I started to think that I wanted to redo my ranking system a little bit and sort of look at something a little differently as I rated games. I rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 and have this whole scale and system that I kind of go through that looks at, what do I have? Affordability, functionality, originality, quality, reusability, and variability. It works for me. It's extremely flawed, but the numbers make sense to me. But at one point I thought that I wanted to redo this and do something different with it and start rating and maybe getting down into those numbers some more. But I took a step back and I said, is it really a number that I'm looking for, or is it sort of capturing something else as I'm playing games? What is that way to look at how I'm having fun with a game and why I enjoy it or why I don't enjoy it? So I went down a path of just looking for something else that might make sense, and I settled on a board game Wheel of Emotions, which may sound way out there. And all this is a tool to give me ideas about what features make games work for me and how I can identify things that don't work for me. So I went through and I looked up a whole bunch of emotions and what these emotion wheels look like, and I came up with this fantastic color-coded wheel that is relevant for me. So mostly where I started from was just looking at a list of words and seeing what ones actually made sense in terms of the feelings that board games bring out specifically. So if you've ever seen a Wheel of Emotions in other settings, there's probably other categories there that are not present in mine, because again, I don't really have anger when I'm playing games. There's some bigger categories that just don't come out in board games. It's a very cozy, relaxing, fun sort of hobby for me that's mostly on the positive side, but I also wanted to be able to try to identify those feelings that come out of play that maybe aren't so great. So step one of this was really just creating that wheel, and mine has, how many do I have? I think I have 8 different main categories. Again, this is for me. I designed this just to make sense for me. So I picked words that are words I would actually use to describe emotions that I play when playing board games. That's not going to work for everybody, but these are words that make sense to me. The categories make sense to me. I have a lot of ones that are very positive, like excitement and delight and fulfillment. But then there's also frustration and stress and boredom, humiliation, confusion. And the real reason for this, though, is not just to be able to identify what those emotions are as I'm playing a game, but to then go a little bit further and figure out, well, what causes those emotions, right? So, for instance, why do I feel humiliated? Why would that ever come into the equation? And a lot of times, that comes from a misunderstanding of rules, at least for me, where I think I'm doing great and I'm like, wow, I really am going to beat this solo opponent, where I'm really going to score well. And then suddenly I realize what I'm doing is not allowed, but it wasn't clear when I first learned the game. Or there's something where you go from feeling really great about something to like, oh, it's almost that feeling of, I feel stupid. And like, it's not a good feeling at all. So part of that is identifying when that happens as I'm playing games, but then also figuring out, why is that happening? What is causing that? And the whole goal of this, again, is not to go deeper into that number. I think you can only go so far with rating a game on a scale of 1 to 10. It's a piece of data. So if I rated a game a 4 versus a 9, that's a piece of information right there that probably tells me a lot. But if I have games that I rate a 7 versus an 8, what might those games be doing a little bit differently? Or conversely, why do I like a game that I rated on my scale lower than this other game that's rated a 9? Maybe this 6 or 7 actually is more fun for me, and exploring why that is and how it's not tied to a number it's interesting. I don't use this all the time. This is really just something for me to think about as I'm playing. So I don't have anything really tied to this in terms of here's a review and here's the emotional wheel profile for it. I don't have that. The other reason, just in general, because I don't want to I don't want to make it like a data point and this thing that I have to do. It's more just to sit there as like this thing to think about as I'm enjoying the hobby, not to take away from it in terms of like I gotta analyze everything. It's just there to be like, oh, you know what? I think I really like storytelling in my board games. That's what's bringing me a lot of these delightful feelings. That's what I like. That's what's feeding into my fun, so that I know that if I am feeling like I want to play a game that is going to have a good chance of that fun factor, I probably want to bring something to the table that is more narrative or more thematic than something that perhaps is more abstract or more, the theme isn't really there, or it's very focused on just the mechanics. That could be an excellent game, but in that moment, if I'm looking for something that is going to make me extra happy, probably a narrative game. So I don't have profiles for that tied to a specific game. And the other reason is that going into playing a game is different every time. So I might enjoy one of my favorite games more if I'm feeling great that day. If I'm like, I'm having a nice relaxed day, I just want to pick out a favorite game from the shelf, let me get this out and go with it. Versus, hey, there's like real life stress going on, I want a distraction, or, oh, I'm so tired, I've done so much today, I don't really have any brain power to do anything, but I still want to play a game. I'm tired and drained, but I still want to get something to the table. Those are going to be different sorts of experiences, even with the same game. So I don't think it's really sort of this overall thing where it's almost like I'm rating games in general, and just understanding which ones should I add to my collection that are probably going to be fun for me. The other thing, I have this in this fancy color version, but I also have a black and white version where sometimes as I'm playing, I'll put out like little tokens on there just to mark down what I was feeling when I was playing that. Was I, for instance, was there a fun moment when I felt proud? Did I feel confused about something? And then going back and figuring out, well, what caused that? So that now I can look at games as I'm deciding, do I want to buy this game? If it has features that are probably going to make me happy and have those good, feel-good emotions, that's probably a better choice than something where I'm like, I checked out the rule book and I'm already confused. Probably want to be a little more cautious about this because that might bring up those negative emotions. I'll also note on this one, this is a good example, in terms of emotions, sometimes there are games that don't elicit emotions. They are quote unquote boring, but I've said this before, sometimes boring and cozy are very similar. They're very close in terms of what those meanings mean to different players. So what I think is a cozy game could be boring to you. What you think of as a cozy game might be boring to me. We're both correct. It's really just figuring out how that game makes you feel and what it does in terms of how you're playing it, what feelings you're feeling, and sometimes you don't have any feelings. That's kind of where that cozy comes in, where you're not getting any of these negative emotions. You might not be having, might not be laughing or smiling or having those major positive emotions, but it's just a nice sort of almost calming experience just to have no emotions. These are sometimes great games when I am, again, if you are super stressed out. When I'm stressed out, when I can't really think or focus, picking up a game that I know is not going to really have an emotional response in me, it may be slightly boring in general, but that is sort of a nice way to sort of get rid of stress, at least for me. Just take that away. I don't need to combat stress with strong other emotions, right? Like when I'm stressed out, I don't want to bring a game to the table that I usually laugh at because that's just adding more emotions to the stress. Too much. So I use this, it's just a tool to sort of, again, gauge board games a little bit more, understand what is working for me, what isn't, and it goes, again, further than just that one number of how I'm rating a game. And even my comments about the pros and cons of playing it, it really is something tailored specifically to me. So maybe it's useful, maybe it's not. But it's a nice little other way to think about the hobby, and kind of make sure that you're playing games that are giving you more positive emotions than the negative ones, or at least challenging you. Sometimes I like being challenged by being confused. You can also come, if you are confused with something, but you're excited about it and you're like, I'm gonna beat this solo opponent, I know I am. That might be a great combination of emotions. So that is my exciting times with this board game Wheel of Emotions. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you get some great solo games to your table soon. Thanks again. Bye.